Hey YouTube, this is Tom at TM Aquatics and I hope everyone's doing great. As a content creator here on the YouTube platform, I'm frequently contacted by companies asking if I'd like to try some of their product in exchange for a video review. Now 99.99% of the time I decline those offers, however there are some exceptions. And in today's video, we're going to talk about one of those exceptions. It's a piece of equipment that I find extremely useful and in my case necessary for successful breeding of Corydoras and Pleco catfish here at TM Aquatics. Anyways, I do hope you stick around and check this one out. Alright YouTube, as mentioned in the introduction, today is one of those exceptions where I have accepted an offer to try a new product here in the fish room in exchange for a video review. Now in full disclosure, the item you're about to see did come to me free of charge, so do keep that in mind. However, our friends at New Aqua reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in receiving a full 4-stage RODI system in exchange for a video review. Now New Aqua is all about water filtration. For me personally, my application, water filtration, is about my fish room. I need to filter the water that comes out of my tap because as a breeder of Corydoras and exotic Plecos, my tap water is not going to be conducive to success. The TDS coming out of my tap is about 450 and the pH runs between 8.4 to 8.6 depending on the time of the year and what the city's putting in, etc., etc. So in order for me to be successful breeding Corydoras and the Plecos that I have here in my fish room, I have found that an RO system is an essential piece of equipment for my success. Now I already have an RO system here in the fish room, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the system that New Aqua has sent me. Again, it's a full 4-stage RODI, RO and deionization resins. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and we're going to unbox it, see what they sent, and then we'll start talking about some of the features and details, and I'll give you my thoughts. Alright YouTube, now that we have the RO system out of the box, let's just take a closer look again at everything that New Aqua sent. For starters, they have the complete 4-stage RODI system. Included was a bag of adapters and attachments for faucets. They did include a float switch, so if you're using a RO reservoir, this will automatically shut off the RODI system once that reservoir is full. Some 1/4-inch tubing, and then a plastic wrench. And this plastic wrench is used for tightening or loosening the individual canisters. My initial thoughts looking at this particular item: clean, professional, and top quality craftsmanship and top quality materials. Alright, so I've mentioned that this is a 4-stage RODI system. What are those 4 stages? What do they do? And how's that going to benefit me in my fish room? Let's talk about that real quick. Now the water's going to come in right here. This is going to be the input. going to come into the first stage, which is a sediment filter. And that does exactly that. It filters out any sediments within the water column. From the sediment filter, it's then going to flow into the second stage, which is a carbon block filter. And that's going to remove any impurities and chemicals and things like chlorine out of your tap water, making it fish safe. From the carbon block filter, this system is then configured to run up to the third stage, which is a 75 gallon per day RO membrane. And that's just going to further remove any impurities out of the water. Coming out of the RO membrane, your tap water or your TDS is probably going to be in the single digits, around 3 or 4, very minimal. And then after the RO membrane, it then goes through the fourth stage, the last stage, which is the deionization resin, which is going to further filter and remove that last bit of TDS in your water, making the TDS 0. Now for me and my application here in my fish room, I don't necessarily need a deionization resin. In fact, with my tap water and the TDS being about 450, I burn through deionization resins extremely quick. The higher your TDS and the more stuff the resins are taken out, the faster you're going to burn through it. Most people that use deionization resins are either keeping Corydoras shrimp or reef tanks because they need to be starting out at a clean slate with a 0 TDS, so they know exactly what's in their water. But for me, Corydoras and Plecos, I'm fine with a TDS of 3, 4, 5. I'm perfectly fine without that last deionization filtration. So what I intend to do with this system is reconfigure it like I did with my existing system so that I have a sediment filter. Stage 2 will be a carbon block. Stage 3 will then be another carbon block. And then it will go up, and my final stage will be the RO membrane. And that's what I plan to do with this system. Now one thing I want to note regarding this new Aqua RODI system, and my existing system for that matter, is that they use an industry standard 10-inch canisters. In other words, inside each one of these canisters, a standard 10-inch sediment filter or carbon block should fit without any issue. There are some lower quality or off-brand names that use proprietary sediment filters and carbon block filters, and those are the only filters that will fit in their RO systems. So they basically trap you into continually buying their supply and their brand only, where it appears that New Aqua allows you to use any sediment filter or carbon block, whether you purchase it from them online or purchase elsewhere. So just to be sure, here's a 10-inch sediment filter and a 10-inch carbon block filter that I purchased from my LFS. So we're just going to go ahead and remove the sediment filter and the carbon block filter that came with the system, and just verify and double check that they'll accept any standard 10-inch sediment filter or carbon block filter. So let's just check that out to be safe and to verify. So as you can see, here's the stock sediment filter that came with the new Aqua RODI system. Here's their carbon block. I've removed those. I replaced them with the sediment filter and carbon block that I pick up from my local fish store, and they fit without any issue. So having that flexibility is good on new Aqua. They were thinking of the consumer and made it easy for us to acquire and replace the sediment filters and carbon blocks without being bound to ordering off their website. So now carbon blocks and sediment filters filter out different size particles, and they usually come with a micron rating. The sediment filter and carbon blocks that I'm using here in my fish room filter down to 5 microns. I don't know what this carbon block filters down to. I don't see any writing on it. I don't see any literature on it, so I'm not sure. If I had to guess, I'm guessing 5 or 10 micron, and probably the same with the sediment filter. Again, it doesn't say on the sediment filter that came with the unit, and I didn't see any literature. So again, probably 5 or 10 micron, I'm guessing. So that seems to be fine. I know where I get my filters from, my replacements, they sell down to 1 micron, but I've really not found that necessary. So anyways, it's nice to know that you can that they're universal and that they will fit other brand sediment filters and carbon blocks. But again, if you want to have some extras on hand, New Aqua does sell them, so feel free to shop about their website and pick up some extra sediment filters and carbon blocks along with your new RODI system. Alright YouTube, we're getting close to the end of this video, but before we go, I do want to share some final thoughts and answer one big question that I'm certain is going to be on a lot of people's mind, and that is, do I need an RO system or an RODI system? And the answer to that is, it's relative. It really depends on the type of aquarium you're setting up, or the type of fish or invertebrates that you're trying to keep, or in my case, the type of fish you're breeding, and what are the water parameters coming out of your tap water. For me personally here at TM Aquatics, I'm working with several types of Corydoras species that require the pH to be anywhere from 6 to 6.5 and the TDS to be under 100. And with TDS of 450 and a pH of 8.4 to 8.6 out of my tap, it would be virtually impossible for me to have any success with some of the fish here that I'm working with. Now the other thing that I do want to point out is that the cartridges themselves don't have an unlimited lifetime in the RO systems. They do need to be swapped out on a regular basis. And when is it time to swap these out? Well, there's a couple things you can watch. Your water pressure, you're going to notice a decrease in the water pressure going through your RO system. As these start to clog up, your water pressure is going to decrease. That's one indicator. And then also get yourself a TDS pen. I think they're on Amazon for like 10 bucks. When you start to see that TDS creep up, then it's time to maybe swap out your sediment filter and your carbon block. Now these themselves are not very expensive. I think where I buy these from, I think my sediment filters are $2.99, and I think my carbon blocks are $5.99, and these are both 5 micron sediment filter and carbon block. So I swap them out about every 4 months or so here at TM Aquatics. You might have to swap them out sooner. You might be able to get a full year. It really depends on how much water you're pushing through your RO system. The more water you're putting through your system, the faster you're going to have to replace it. Basic common sense. And then the last thing that I want to mention is I talked about the TDS coming out of the RO system. Out of an RO system, your TDS is going to be in the single digits. After passing through the deionization resins, your TDS is going to be either 0 or maybe 1. You do have to remineralize that water before adding back into a system, before adding back in with your fish or invertebrates, corals, etc., whatever you're working with. Now there's different products that you can use to remineralize that water. There's different types and different brands as GH Booster, etc. Me personally, I just find it easier and the least expensive way to do it is just to add some of my tap water back in. For me personally, with my tap water, I mix it back in at about a 4-to-1 ratio, and that seems to work out well for me and my fish here at TM Aquatics. So you're going to have to play around with that and experiment with whatever tap water you have, or use whatever product you need, but you do have to remineralize that water before adding it back into an aquarium. Alright YouTube, we're going to go ahead and wrap this video up. I first want to give a big shout out and thanks to New Aqua for sending me this 4-stage RODI system. And if anybody is in the market to buy an RO system for your fish room or just for drinking water or household needs, I do encourage you to check out New Aqua at their website. I'll go ahead and drop a link down below. They've also extended an affiliate link. I'll go ahead and drop that down below as well. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to post down below. I'll do my best to respond when time allows. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you think I've earned your subscription, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and follow along on the TM Aquatics journey. Anyways, again, thanks to New Aqua, and until the next one, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you all later.